What's up, guys? Simon Edwards at Pumacom here with Heat Seekers Sports. You're watching our Underdog Best Ball show. Underdog has a great new promo going on right now where you can get up to $1,000 on a bonus deposit match. So they will match you up to 50% on your deposit, up to $1,000. So if you deposit $2,000, you get $1,000 for free. And we have a week left until the NFL regular season. So now is the time where if you haven't signed up for an Underdog account already, to sign up for one. They got a ton of great best ball contests, and Best Ball Mania still has not filled. Best Ball Mania 5, and it's $25 to enter those contests, and $1,000 will get you a lot of entries into that contest. I'm joined today by Spread Astaire. Spread, what's going on, man? We got a week until the regular season starts.
Man, I am excited. We've been drafting these teams all summer, and a lot of the players that we've targeted have gone up. So I'm feeling good about the teams that I drafted earlier in the year. Now it's time to add some guys that I've been ignoring, right? We got a running back on the Chiefs, the backup running back steal. Jordan Whittington has become the new darling after we spent all June and July targeting Demarcus Robinson. So training camp has changed some things. Pretty happy about the values that I got earlier in the year, and now I'm excited to mix it up by getting some of those new hot risers. Jordan Naylor from Minnesota is the other one I need to add a little more to that seems to be moving up with the potential Addison and Hawkinson being out.
Gotcha. Yeah, and Patrick Mahomes, man, we were on top of that situation. I mean, it's not like rocket science, but he was going in the 5th, 6th round for a majority of the summer, and we were drafting him every freaking time. And now he's in the 4th round, something like that. And the team looks great. The rookie looks great. I mean, they're just going to crush this year. And I'm loaded up on Chiefs this year. They were all cheap. I mean, this is the first year since I've been doing best ball where you've been able to stack the Chiefs at a reasonable price without breaking the bank on trying to get Kelsey in the 1st round and Mahomes in like the 3rd round and stuff like that. So it's been really easy to stack the Chiefs up until now. I guess they're getting a little bit more expensive. But what are your thoughts there on the Chiefs situation? Spread? Did you end up loading up on that team?
Yeah, and I'm still grabbing him.
Yeah.
Usually when I grab him is when I'm around a turn. And you can grab like him and Kelsey at
Right.
24, 25, something like that. And I have no problems reaching for him because I think he's still going to exceed his performance, and we're going to see a great bounce back here from Mahomes. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, if you've been watching the show, one of the themes that we talked about was how last season, in the macro perspective, quarterbacks were going sometimes at the end of the 1st, but in the 2nd and 3rd rounds for a lot of these high-end quarterbacks. As fate would have it, the situation last year, most of those quarterbacks got hurt, and so they didn't pay off their value. So this year, people were shying away from them and not drafting them until about the 4th round. So you were getting these great values on these quarterbacks that were going in the 2nd and 3rd round last year. And that's one of the things that we've taken advantage of. Another thing that we took advantage of was Bijan Robinson and Breece Hall. Traditionally, guys like that would be drafted 1st overall in fantasy drafts, but with the new wave of 0 RB being popular way to draft these days, wide receivers have been pushed up the board. And really, for guys like Breece Hall and Bijan Robinson, like nothing has changed with projected value that these guys would have on any given year in the history of fantasy sports, because these guys are more of those traditional running backs that get the full workload, and they're still going mid 1st round. So I've been loading up a lot on Breece Hall and Bijan Robinson throughout the offseason. We've been pretty consistent with our stance on that. Spread. Are you still doing that? Or are you loading up more like on wide receivers that would normally be in their positions?
All right. Full disclosure, I'm primarily drafting on DraftKings where it's full point PPR, and I think wide receivers are so much more important there.
Yeah.
However, since we are on Underdog today and we're talking on the Underdog show, when I draft on Underdog, I do like to make them a priority. I still understand the zero RB strategy, and I'm still kind of a disciple of it, just with the idea that once you get past pick 100, the wide receivers just dry up.
Right.
And I mean, even if we have an injury to Drake London, like Darnell Mooney's not necessarily going to be a top player. However, if you have an injury to Bijan Robinson, like Tyler Algier could be amazing. So I'm still like a zero RB disciple. And for my Brees and Bijan, I try to just keep even with the field. I don't reach on them. So
Gotcha.
Usually won't take them until 7. And my ideal is like when I'm at 10 or something and one of them drops, which is crazy because it happens more on Underdog than it does on DraftKings. But in my mind, I would think that on DraftKings, the zero RB strategy is better because it's a full point PPR. But, we talked a little bit before the show, and that's kind of why I think that the DraftKings rooms can be a little softer in my mind, especially right now when you get all the home league guys in there. I mean, the running backs are just flying off the boards. You can just get great wide receivers in the first 3 rounds. But a wide receiver that I want to talk to you about that I've been loading up on, Simon, is Brandon Aiyuk as he continues to fall in these drafts. And I was thinking this whole time, right? We talked about buy the dip when he was on there last time because I said I didn't think he was going to get traded. Now it looks like, I mean, they're getting pretty close to the deadline here. I was expecting him to be signed right around now. What do you think's going on with Brandon Aiyuk and Trent Williams? They're still not practicing.
I think Trent Williams is more consequential as far as that offense functioning. But yeah, Brandon Aiyuk is a big mystery right now because it looked like he was going to be going to Pittsburgh. That seemed almost like a sure thing, like just a couple weeks ago. And then, that's kind of fizzled out. So it looks like he's going to be sticking around San Francisco, but they haven't got the deal done with him yet. So, I don't think he's not going to hold out. Like, it'd be stupid to hold out. We've seen guys try that in the past and it never works out for them. But I wouldn't be surprised at the same time if we see him like just miss a couple weeks. And with Shanahan, Shanahan is vindictive, man. I wouldn't be surprised if, he has a reduced role in the offense after all of this. So, we're going to have to see what happens with Aiyuk, but I haven't really been getting him on the dip because I just see so many other, wide receivers that I like in that range or other players that I like in the range. But yeah, I mean, I've been drafting more.
So I've been getting him in 3rd round a lot.
Oh, 3rd round, like mid or late 3rd round or beginning
it's going
3rd round?
Around yeah.
I could see him like mid late 3rd round. I think would be where I start to get more heavy on him. But to draft, I prefer to draft Debo a little bit earlier because I think all of this, like no matter how this shakes out, is just beneficial to Debo. And if Ayuk's gone, Debo's a mid 1st round value, in my opinion. I know we talked about this on the last show. Spread, I think you would keep Debo pretty much where he is, and upgrade someone further down the roster.
I upgrade Kittle more than I do Debo.
Kittle? Yeah. I just think with the way that Debo used to do before Brandon Aiyuk started to catch on, I think Brandon Aiyuk has been a hindrance to Debo's value. So that's why I think that Debo would benefit the most from the situation. But we have to see how this plays out still. I do think that Aiyuk will have a less projected season based on all this stuff going on, just based on, like Shanahan's going to move forward without him either way. He can adjust, we've seen it in the past. And I would not be surprised if he takes a hit just in the season in general, if they decide to, rely on some of these other players a little bit more based off of, this offseason.
What really surprises me is they're in a Super Bowl window right now. I don't understand why they're not just paying.
Yeah.
If they're a middle of the pack team, even like that's why like the Steelers and the Patriots, it's like, what are you guys doing? You're going to give all this money to a guy that's not on your time. Well, I guess the Steelers are a little different, but the Patriots, like he's not on your timeline. I mean, I guess you're trying to make things easier for your rookie quarterback the same way that they, Stephon Diggs helped Josh Allen, A.J. Brown helped Jalen Hurts. I guess that's what they were looking for, but it's just really surprising to me. But for the 49ers, just pay the money. Yeah. The window's going to end when you pay Purdy. Go ahead and do this stuff now and figure it out later. So I'm really surprised at the 49ers hardball approach to this, especially with Trent Williams. When the guy's 36 years old, give him what he wants.
Yeah. And the way that you could structure the contract with Aiyuk too is, maybe give him the money heavier up front or whatever. Like, because when you sign Purdy, you can structure it so that you're giving him the lighter years up front and then going heavy. Like you can manipulate like how you're paying these guys. So it makes a lot of sense to just sign Aiyuk, get it over with. It's kind of like the holdout for CeeDee Lamb. But the thing with CeeDee Lamb is Jerry Jones is so predictable that he's going to cave right before the season starts every time, like he did with Zeke, and he's done with.
I thought that was going to be the same way with all these. Well, the only one I was more concerned about Chase, because the Bengals are notoriously cheap.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's just, but I mean, just pay these guys. Okay. Where you can't overpay a great player. You can overpay a good player. And I guess maybe that's what they're thinking about Aiyuk, because I don't think he's on the level of a CD or a Chase or some of these other top guys, right? Like a Tyreek Hill. I don't think he's on that level. But Jamar Chase is. You can't overpay him. Like Patrick Mahomes, he can't be overpaid. It's like literally impossible to overpay him for what he brings to your team. So I'm really surprised here what's going on. Another take that, and hey, this is what happens when you're guessing medicals. I was reading that they might hold Pearsall out for the year. You're seeing he's back at practice now.
Yeah.
What's going on with Ricky Pearsall? Because I kind of been avoiding him. I had been backstacking him with Purdy here and there, but with the latest shoulder injury news, I kind of been staying away. Do you think it's okay to jump back in and get some Pearsall here in this last week?
So the shoulder injury news that I heard was that what was like the socket was separated or something. Is that what you saw?
Yeah, and that he might be out for a year, and it was worse than they expected.
Yeah, but they haven't put him on IR. And he was back at practice. So, I think that it looked like it was improving from the news then updates that I had seen. So, I mean, that's another thing. Maybe they're using that as leverage against Aiyuk. I don't know what they would, not be honest about his injury or whatever. If he's out there practicing, he's not on the IR. They put Elijah Mitchell on the IR already. His season's over. And, for Pearsall, if they were going to do that, I think they would have done it by now. So I do think that he's going to end up playing. I just don't know, if they're going to be going a lot lighter on him in the first couple weeks. I think that all kind of depends on this Aiyuk situation too, But where were you seeing that they were, or when, I guess I should ask, were you seeing that they're going to pull him out or potentially pull him out for the season?
It was in like the San Francisco Bay Area media outlets last week.
Yeah. Last week. Yeah. So that's what's weird, because like last week is when I heard that stuff too about the severity of the shoulder injury. But then I think it was like yesterday or today is when I saw that, he was going to be practicing, or he was practicing. So
I mean, maybe they're ramping him back up as this Aiyuk thing doesn't go through.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely do they have like a deadline that they have to put him on IR, or is that they can put him on season-ending IR at any point? Or
I would think that you can do it at any point, because you can get injured any day, and it's 4 games from the week that you put him on.
Yeah, because I know there's some like stuff when you put a guy on IR before the season starts and they're done for the year, and that's what happened with Mitchell.
That's season-ended. That's season-ending IR, and that way you get the roster spot, but you don't lose him.
Gotcha.
The typical IR is 4 weeks. Garrett, you have to have him out for 4 weeks, but you get the roster spot.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just
those 4 weeks.
A lot of uncertainty with that situation in general, but those two players should be affected. And I like Debo the best in this situation. I think he benefits no matter what happens. So, if he's going mid second round still, like I don't mind taking him there at all, because I think his upside is mid first round. And, like I think his downside, he's probably at, his worst case scenario right now in mid second round. So, Debo, I don't think you can go wrong with drafting him. McCaffrey, he's not getting any younger. What are your thoughts? You're still, I mean, we haven't really changed our opinion on McCaffrey. He's still first overall.
Yeah, I still first
Yeah.
overall because I want even exposure in the first round. So
Yeah.
if I get one, I just take him.
Right. And, McCaffrey with CD Lamb holding out. I know a lot of people are drafting CD Lamb first overall, but we've seen this a ton of times with these guys that hold out like throughout the entire offseason, and then they try to jump back into it. It takes them forever to get going again. And I don't think that CD Lamb's going to have a year anywhere close to what he did last year.
Mm. He started pretty slow last year too, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, really, we're playing for the playoffs here. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
If he's balling in week 15, 16, and 17, right? I mean, hopefully you drafted well enough in your lower rounds to get you in there. It's not managed league where you have to choose to sit or start him. So if he starts off slow, you're hoping that your like aforementioned Darnell Mooney's or your Ricky Pearsall's or whatever can jump in and carry the load for you until he comes through. So I'm not worried about CD as much. It was fun last week when he hadn't signed, getting him at the 6th or 7th pick, but now he's back to number 2 in every draft I do.
Gotcha. Latest I heard on Jamar Chase was that they were expecting him to be back here pretty soon. What are you hearing on Jamar Chase, and what are your thoughts on his situation?
I'm just shocked. I don't have any. I get way more San Francisco news like for the 49ers stuff because obviously I'm around here and it's on the radio and I follow more of those guys. I'm shocked that they simply haven't paid him. Like I said earlier, you can't overpay for a great player, so I have no idea what the Bengals are doing. Hopefully they figure that out because he's the one that's dropping right now that I'm kind of picking up like in that 6th or 7th spot as people are afraid of it.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with the Bengals, like you said, they're notoriously cheap. They used to be like this with, Carson Palmer and Ocho Cinco back in the day too, and they luck boxed their way into, this super young team with Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase all on the rookie contracts at the same time, and they got to a Super Bowl. But it hasn't changed anything with the ownership because they're still obviously haven't signed Jamar Chase, even seeing the upside and the potential to really have a franchise that can compete for years to come. I think the guy would just rather, just be cheap. He's got
I don't get
Burrow
it.
locked in. So
I do not get it.
Yeah. Yeah. So that doesn't make a lot of sense there. But Jamar Chase, I still think, kind of the same as CD Lamb, the guy hasn't been practicing throughout the offseason. So who knows what's going to happen with him as far as clicking and everything. And obviously he's had very limited time with Joe Burrow over the past year, with Joe Burrow being out for like a lot of last year, or hurt for a lot of last year. And they have the history together in college, obviously, so it shouldn't be affected that much.
I don't think that'll be an issue.
Yeah. I think that would
sign the contract and get out there.
Yeah. So Jamar Chase, another one of those guys that we're monitoring. Samaje Perine to the Chiefs. How do you think that affects the backfield there spread?
Not really enough to affect the way things are going.
Yeah. You don't think he's going to be a red zone threat to Pacheco? No.
I think he might be a third down threat in between the 20s, but I don't think it'll be enough to really, especially if we're talking underdog with the half point PPR.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I guess you could take him because he's a couple injuries away from being in a huge role. I don't know. Getting cut from the Broncos, I do like their room, and we'll talk about them a little more, but I don't know. It's almost like the Jahan Dotson deal. Do we have that on our sheet? I'm kind of jumping around here.
Yeah, but, Dotson I got a little bit later, but go ahead and talk about him.
Well, just the idea that you wouldn't allow him to go to a division rival if he was really playing that well.
Right.
It's the same deal here. It's like I think that Peyton would have to know that he's going there. So I would think that they're not liking what they're seeing,
right.
From him. So I don't know. I guess I'll throw a flyer on him. I hadn't drafted him at all. So he's one of those ones, right? If he beats me, he beats me, but I'm not really expecting a lot. I'm sure he'll get some usage and I'm sure he'll get some carries, but I don't know. I don't really expect him, barring like a super injury to Pacheco and that new guy Steele. I don't see how he really is a game changer when it comes to what we're doing here with Best Ball.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I haven't been drafting P. Ryan at all throughout this entire offseason, just with that mess in Denver's backfield. But it does open the door more for Jaleel McLaughlin, who spread likes a lot, and Audric Estime. So what are your thoughts on McLaughlin's situation after you've been drafting him pretty much all summer?
I mean, I'm just happy about it. Obviously, he will take over that role that P. Ryan would have had. So, especially on a full point PPR site, I think he's going to be excellent. I think he's going to get a lot of dump down work. We saw Bo Nix dump down a lot. I think that they will run I don't want to say traditional, but it's going to be like a conservative style offense. I don't think Peyton's going to be asking him to push it down the field. I think his number one priority is going to be to avoid interceptions, and that's where Jaleel McLaughlin comes in a lot. Now, however, a lot of my love for McLaughlin was not really liking Javonte. Javante's looked good so far, and he can catch out of the backfield as well. So I was getting McLaughlin a lot in the 180s. Now at the 140s, I'm just sitting on my exposure that I already have and going for other guys and just kind of evening it out, because with Javonte Williams looking as good as it did, it doesn't seem like the slam dunk that it did in July, where I was thinking he was going to be looking slow like he did last year. So sometimes that happens, right? It takes over a year to get over that ACL. Oh, yeah. They come back and they look a little slow. He's looking explosive again, which means that, it could be trouble for my McLaughlin shares. I also see that you wanted to talk about Estime. I still think Estime's got a chance to get some red zone work, which would diminish both backs. And this could be one of those ones where the Broncos have a great rushing game, but fantasy players are frustrated because it's going to be different from week to week, or they're all going to be in middling scores, right? Where Javonte rushes for 100 yards, McLaughlin gets 6 catches for 55 yards, and then Estime gets a couple runs for 2 touchdowns. And it's not all concentrated. So unless there's an injury, I don't know how effective those Denver backs are going to be, because I wouldn't be surprised to see all 3 of them get significant work in different portions of the game.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've been drafting Javonte throughout the entire offseason.
Well, that's good, because I haven't, and I think that you're on the right path. I think he looks really good, way better than I expected.
Yeah, and this is the thing, when I feel like people have a short-term memory when it comes to these guys coming off the ACL tears, because they usually start slow. Look at Breece Hall last year, right? Before he blew up at the end of the year, like he was looking like a bust for throughout most of the season last year. And it really does take like a year from recovery before they get back to their old ways, like with a lot of these running backs especially. And that's why I'm not drafting the Carolina rookie either, because he's coming off of an ACL tear and he hasn't even played in the NFL. So that's why I've been on Chuba Hubbard all off season. Looks like he's going to be the starter to start the season. So at least we know that we've locked in about 4-5 weeks of him as a starter. The rookie got put on IR, right, Spread?
Yeah, so he definitely, the earliest he'll come back is week 5, and you got to think that if you're draft. So here's my strategy for both Brooks and Shoup. I'm not targeting running backs, but I will take the falling ADP value. So say I get a strong start, right? Like I got like a Gibbs, Henry, right? Or something like that, where I'm feeling strong about my running backs. I'll go ahead and take that shot on both Brooks and Shoup. And the idea is these are just playoff pieces. But I'm thinking that my original running backs. Now, when I do my 0 running back strategy, I have to cross them off the list. I can't take them as running back number 2, number 3.
Right.
It has to be number 4 because you're just looking for that playoff firepower. So if you do the robust RB or the hero RB strategy, I think those players are more viable. Since I've been staying away from that, unless ADP dictates that, I have less shares on both of those guys. And, I'm pretty confident with the Samaje Perine. If he beats me, he beats me. On this one, I'm kind of saying the same thing, but I'm a lot more concerned that it could potentially happen because, would it be that surprising for Nick Chubb to be this year's Amari Cooper, where he just kind of has like an all right year and then has that week 15 in the playoffs where he's the top scorer of the whole fantasy deal and just eliminates a bunch of more solid teams in the playoffs? I wouldn't be surprised to see that with Chubb. So that's one of those issues there. I wanted to ask you about a different running back, Simon, Dalvin Cook, going to the Cowboys. As someone who drafted a lot of Rico Dowdle, thinking that he was the best player, and then getting a lot of Zeke, especially, best ball format, where I think that he's still going to get a lot of the red zone work, and the touchdowns will be able to get him into my lineup, especially in my 0 RB builds. This Dalvin Cook thing kind of worried me. Now he looked a little washed last year, but so did Zeke, and he put up plenty of numbers just off of usage. What do you think of Dalvin Cook joining the Cowboys?
I think that Zeke had a much better showing last year than Dalvin, and I think that Cook is definitely washed because he looked washed when he was with the Vikings, and then last year he showed no steam, and then this year I'm shocked that the Cowboys even signed him. Honestly, I think he's just going to be one of those guys that we worry about in the beginning of the year, but we see him play, like a couple games, and then we're like, okay, I think it's Dowdle's backfield. I think that, Zeke will probably make an impact, at least in the beginning part of the season, before he runs out of steam. But then Dowdle is going to be the guy, I think, that they end up relying on, and that ends up, picking things up. I know I had Head Chopper on the show with me for Thanksgiving last year, where we broke down the Cowboys game. And I know that he liked Dowdle, like even before, he got any of this buzz as a starter or anything like that. And Dowdle showed some flashes last year too. And I just think that, he can have a decent year this year. We know that the Cowboys like to use their running backs too. So I think that they brought in Cook for depth. I think as a, more to spell Zeke than to spell Dowdle at all. I would worry more about Zeke shares than I would about Dowdle shares with the Cook signing.
All right. Well, I probably have more Dowdle than Zeke, but I have been kind of getting both of them in there, especially on my 0 RB, because in that range that they're drafted at, both Zeke and Dowdle, I think that they have the highest upside.
Yeah.
Rather than getting like someone right now who's scheduled to be a pure backup, like Blake Corum, who goes a little bit ahead of those guys, but is the clear backup. Now, the biggest smokescreen of the summer, Simon, in my mind, is this Kyren Williams kickoff deal.
Right.
It doesn't mean anything to me. It means absolutely nothing to me. I think that we completely overreacted to this, and I don't think it means a lot at all. I still think that when you're drafting Blake Corum, you are drafting him with the idea that if Kyren gets hurt, you're going to get a top 5 guy, right? I think that him and Braylon Allen are in the same position where they're very strong players, that they're not their talent that's going to dictate what their production is. It's their opportunity. So I didn't raise Blake Corum at all off of this. And with Kyren looking healthier and healthier, I've been drafting Corum a ton in July and June and July. I've kind of backed away from him. It seems like it's Kyren's to take, and I feel like that I do not have enough Kyren Williams right now, and I don't think this news means a lot at all. What do you think? Are you adjusting your projections for either man based off this kickoff? I believe that Kyren did some kickoffs last year too, so it's not like this is brand new.
No, I think the biggest threat to Kyren has always been Corum, and giving him kickoff returns on top of it doesn't really tell me anything. They have a new kickoff rules this year, so you're probably just looking for ways to take advantage of that, and Kyren makes a lot of sense for that. but his value doesn't like increase or decrease for me based on that news. I do like Corum a lot, though. I think Corum might outscore Brooks this year. He's obviously going to have the full year of health to try to do it, the full season of health. I think with Brooks, we might not see Brooks have any meaningful role in the offense until week 11. Because if he's on IR to start, right, he's missing 4 weeks off the bat. They're going to ease him back in. If the Panthers are playing well, which it looks like Bryce Young is doing pretty decent in the preseason, or did pretty decent in the preseason. What's that?
He only played in one series.
Yeah, but
why do they not play him?
Yeah, who knows? But I do think that if the coach has the quarterback whisperer status that he had with Geno Smith and Baker Mayfield, if that's a legit thing and he's able to help Bryce Young get back to form, then there's going to be more upside with the Panthers than people are giving them credit for, especially with Deontay Johnson on the team now. And if they're in any situation where they're winning games, let's look at the division. Let's look at Tampa Bay. They lost their offensive coordinator. They're getting into a situation where Baker Mayfield, he had a good year last year, but what if he reverts back to the Baker Mayfield that we've seen throughout his career and he sucks, right? Or he's not that good? Then Tampa Bay is not going to be necessarily in contention for that division. Then you got Atlanta. Like Atlanta, they kind of blew their opportunity to get another elite weapon in there, but they got Kirk Cousins. If the coaches do better than they have in their past, where Raheem Morris, he had a losing record as a coach in the past, we're hopeful that he's going to have a good season and turn Atlanta around. I know that the betting market and everyone's hopeful about that, but sometimes the front office can't get out of their way. And what happens if Atlanta's not able to turn it around? I think that division might be wide open because you got New Orleans. Like they're kind of a mediocre team too. If Carolina shows any sort of upside, they could, we'll probably know in the first couple weeks of the season, like what kind of team that they're going to be. But, they have potential to at least compete in that weak division. And if they're competing in that division and Chuba Hubbard is carrying his weight up until, week 11, where we say, maybe week 11 is the bye week. So after, week 12, if Chuba Hubbard's still playing at a high level, then, they're not going to just throw Brooks into that mix, it's just going to be, let's ride Chuba Hubbard. And if he gets hurt or tired, then we'll start using Brooks a little bit more, right? They'll integrate him in slowly. So, I see Corum as having a lot more value than Brooks overall, because I think there's a lot more opportunity for Corum to have a decent year this year with Kyron Williams coming off a huge workload last year. So he's going to be vulnerable for injury, and that'll put Corum in a great spot.
Final thought on Carolina. Canales is going to have to be an offensive line whisperer. I think that was a big issue for him, and a drawback for Bryce Young is he's not going to get it done on his own. And I even go over to my Raiders, and I think that the reason Minshew got the job over there, not because he played better in preseason, but because he's more mobile. And Antonio Pierce watched his line just get blown up every time. And he said, I can't throw the second-year kid back there because he's going to get absolutely smoked. So Canales has got his work cut out for him, because not only does he need to improve Bryce Young, I really think their problem is going to be on that offensive line. All right, Simon, let's smash through a couple more of these and jump into a draft. Elijah Mitchell and A.J. Dillon both go on season-ending IR. Jordan Mason jumps into the draft. Now he's getting drafted, and at least on DraftKings 16th, 17th, maybe a little earlier on Underdog, where running backs are more important. A.J. Dillon has helped stop that injury, helped stop that free fall on Marshawn Lloyd, but I still see people avoiding him a lot as he can't hold on to the ball. He's still fumbling, and he's got hamstring issues. Looks like, though, they're not going to have any other option to spell him. Your thoughts kind of on Jordan Mason and Marshawn Lloyd as we get this injury news out of the Niners and the Packers?
I like Jordan Mason. I think that you can start picking him up in the late rounds. For some reason, I wasn't drafting Elijah Mitchell at all.
I
Even though
was
he
pretty
super late.
disappointed.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. Like there was just like we've seen what he can offer. He's hasn't had like he's always getting hurt and stuff like that. So I just avoided him. And then to hear Jordan Mason, I wasn't drafting Jordan Mason at all, but like I would draft Jordan Mason now that we got that news. And as far as AJ Dillon, I do like that for Marshawn Lloyd a lot. Dillon was going to be a thorn in the side of that running game, but I like it for Josh Jacobs even more because I think that's going to set up a season for Josh Jacobs now, and I think that him going, he was going in like the sixth, fourth round, let's say. I think he was going in about the fourth round last time I paid attention to him. I think that's a really good spot to draft him. I liked ETN in that fourth round, third round, fourth round. So I think Jacobs in that area too. I mean, we've seen him before have top 5 upside potential. So Josh Jacobs, if he pretty much has like the lion's share of that backfield to himself now, that there's really no one else significant to kind of give work to, then yeah, Josh Jacobs I think benefits the most from that entire situation.
Kamani Vidal makes the Chargers. Doesn't really affect much for me. I'd never expected him to get cut, and I still kind of use him as a Hail Mary if I've missed out on my running backs. I have no idea what's going on in that Los Angeles Chargers situation, and that's an unknown that I think is going to tip leagues because whoever comes out being the workhorse out of that Chargers, you're going to get extreme value on it. So I'm just trying to get pretty much even, although I have more Gus and Vidal, and J.K. Dobbins is really my Hail Mary if I've missed out on everybody, and I'm like, he's going to be the only one that could potentially get me out of this 0 RB hole. So that Kamani Vidal making the team didn't really move the needle at all for me. What did you think?
I think that the ADPs of the Chargers are telling a story right now, and it's uncertainty because they're all going after that 10th round pretty much, except for, McConkey, who's going a little bit earlier. But the Chargers backfield is a mess. They got 29-year-old Gus Edwards. Running backs start to decline after year 27. So Gus Edwards, I don't have any faith in him at all. J.K. Dobbins is coming off an Achilles tear. We rarely see running backs come back from that injury effectively, at least not in the first year. We've seen Cam Akers is pretty much the only guy, and Deontay Foreman, but Foreman took a few years, and Cam Akers ended up tearing his second Achilles. So I think Vidal is in a great spot. I was worried that he was going to get cut. I started seeing, like people in the rumor mill talking about him getting cut, so it scared me off him a little bit with my history of drafting.
I didn't believe that at all.
Yeah. Like
just knowing how Harbaugh is, and he's just like a young kid, and he had that workhorse role.
Right.
And I mean, Edwards is cool, but you know what you're getting there.
Right.
I mean, like I always like James Conner, Rachaad White. Like he's like, if there's wins above replacement, he is the replacement.
Right.
He's going to hit the hole. He's going to fall forward. He's good in the red zone, but you're not going to get anything explosive out of him. So
right. Yeah,
I wasn't surprised by that at all.
Right.
All right, we should probably jump in pretty soon, but is there any other ones you want to talk about before we jump in here?
Well, let's jump in now, Spread, and then we'll talk
we can
about
keep talking them.
Yeah,
okay,
we just keep talking throughout. Let me know.
All right, so hopefully my location will work. Let me know, count it down, and we'll try and get in on the same time. Otherwise, I have it up on my phone.
All right, let's go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, enter. All right. Oh, I got drafting start soon.
In.
Okay, good. We both got in. You got drafting start soon?
No, I'm waiting for 10 people.
Oh, shit. Okay, so I was the last one in this draft.
Oh, crap. All right.
Yeah, I mean, I got to say, Spread, throughout the season, this is the first time that this has happened, so that's not bad. So you can kind of talk through your draft as I'm talking through mine here.
I can leave mine, and we can just do it together too on yours.
Yeah, you want to do that? Let's do that. Okay, so I got it up on the screen here.
All right, let me go full screen here. My old eyes. All right. We are at pick 4.
Pick 4. That's a good spot. Like I'd Much
So
rather.
are we going to go running back here?
Well, if we're at pick 4, I want to see who falls to us because I do like Bijan and Brees a lot, but I don't have a lot of Chase. We talked about Chase earlier. Chase looks like
Chase is guaranteed going to be there with this news. I will be shocked if he's.
So, yeah, a reminder to the viewers, use the promo code SEEK. Underdog is going to match you up to 50% on your first deposit, up to $1,000. So if you deposit $2,000, you're going to get $1,000 in free money, and that will set you up really well for these best ball contests. And I mean, we only have a week left, but you can also do pick'ems, and you got playoff best ball comes around later in the year, which is a really fun game. So we're looking at Bijan or Chase spread. I've typically gone Bijan here, but teaming up with you, which direction do you think we should go?
Let's go Bijan.
All right.
This is Underdog, man.
Cool.
Got to value these running backs more. Like I said, the biggest cognitive dissonance I have flipping between the sites is that zero RB is more popular on a half-point PPR site.
Right.
But to me, that just kind of reaffirms my idea that these guys are sharper over here. And if you think Underdog is primarily best ball, right, I think that you get way more guys that play some DFS and play managed leagues and just do 2 or 3 best ball teams over on DraftKings, where here I think you're getting way more people maxing out and using optimal strategy. And it comes down to, if we're in a room and we have 12 sharp drafters, in my mind now it's luck. It's just like poker, right? If you and I are playing heads up and we're both playing optimal strategy, it's pretty much luck. So that's why sometimes I think that Underdog can be tricky here. Let's look at what's going on here. Brees Hall goes at pick 5. It doesn't surprise me that he's moving up the board a little. One that did surprise me here is seeing Jahmyr Gibbs at pick 11. I know that people are kind of souring on him, at least over on DraftKings with that hamstring news.
Right.
And I'm surprised he's ranked so high, because if you look at the board, right, he's going to be in a timeshare. Montgomery's going to get significant red zone work. Is Kyron Williams going to be in a timeshare? Probably not. Is Derrick Henry going to be in a timeshare? Probably not. Is Travis Etienne every year, or not every year, but last year we heard about how great Tank Bigsby was all preseason for him to not get any work. So Etienne could be a bell cow there, and Jacobs can be a bell cow. So to see, and Saquon should be a bell cow as well. So to see a non-bell cow go at 11, especially on a half-point PPR site, where I think that Gibbs also, a lot of the things that you're getting from him is his points per reception out of the backfield. I'm really surprised. Taylor, another guy that I expect to be a bell cow. I mean, I grabbed some Evan Hall here and there. Nobody's talking about him anymore. So we'll see how this goes. Now, who are we going to be targeting here with our next pick?
So it looks like we're going to
goes off the board. So it's the more traditional draft here.
Yeah.
These running backs drafted earlier. Drake London at pick 18 is not something I'm used to, but probably that people thinking about what you're talking about. Debo pushed all the way up to 13 in this draft. Going off what you said earlier, I thought Kittle was a beneficiary. Obviously, this guy in the 12s hole, J-Jax, thinks that Debo is going to be the beneficiary of that Aiyuk news. And to be fair, they probably both are. Let's go back to the players and let's figure out who we're going to get. I would have liked to get Nico Collins. Too bad he just got snatched.
I've been typically going Waddle in this situation. Waddle is my favorite guy on the board right now. I wouldn't mind going Cup.
You want to switch to the whole board? So, there goes Waddle.
Okay, so let's see. I'm going to go with either what do you think of Olave versus Cup and Adams? Which of those three do you have a preference for?
I go Adams, Cup, Olave.
Adams, Cup, Olave.
But if you want to go Cup, I have a ton of Adams already.
Yeah, let's go Cup. Like Olave, I was drafting him a decent amount in the beginning of the season. So I got enough exposure there. I really don't have much exposure to Cup. So that's why I kind of leaned him there. Adams, I have plenty of. We've been talking about him throughout this whole
I have so
offseason.
much Adams. That's why I'm fine.
Yeah.
Wow, Malik Neighbors at 23. He was a player I was hoping to get on the comeback.
Yeah, that's who.
Can you
Yeah,
switch to the board of the players real quick so I can
yeah,
see
yeah,
that?
yeah. I've been drafting a lot of neighbors lately on that same mentality. Because I just think like the preseason, we finally got to see like how he is, and he looked pretty good. So Adams might fall back to us.
Yeah. I wouldn't be against some Kyron Williams there as well to go with our Cooper Cup, and then that would just pretty much lock us into Stafford as QB2. I think Mike Evans, I'm going to continue to draft him until he has a bad season. I mean, you can pretty much pencil him in for 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns every year.
Yeah.
So a lot of good options on the board for us. Kyron Williams goes because we already have a running back. I don't know. I do like Derrick Henry a lot, but I kind of think we need a wide receiver here.
Same here.
DJ Moore, I didn't like him earlier when he was. You want to do Adams? Let's do it. Great. DJ Moore is a player that I felt was too high.
Yeah.
Earlier, because when we started, right when we did one earlier this year, he was around 20.
Yeah.
And him and Diggs have each dropped 10 spots. Now I think they're a lot closer to where they should be.
Yeah, I think so too.
That's another example of how sharp these draft rooms are and the market kind of correcting itself.
Right.
As people like me, we're just consistently passing on DJ Moore for players like Malik Neighbors or, other guys like that. So.
Yeah. And that's really like when I do my drafting, I look at it like the stock market. I'm trying to buy low and sell high. Right.
Right. Because what's going to happen is, let's say you're absolutely right about a player take. Let's just say you're absolutely right about Rashee Rice. But if you drafted him in June when he was in the 80s, right? And then another guy drafts him this week, and I don't know where he is right now, especially on Underdog, because I've seen these have changed a little bit since my last time drafting on here. He's in the 5th round. So I potentially, we each have the identical score with Rashee Rice, but I got a 5th round guy for my 2nd slot, and you have an 8th round guy. So that's why the value matters so much. And even why when I'm looking at stacking, I don't want to do it too much because I know that I can potentially be competing against someone else who got those same stacks when the players fell. Right. Because I've seen Jalen Hurts fall to the 50s. Right. I've seen CJ Stroud fall to the 60s. Right. So when if you took CJ Stroud at 40, you could be in the playoffs competing against the guy that got CJ Stroud at 60s. He could have like a Josh Jacobs or an ETN next to you, and I'm sitting there with a player I might not like as much, like Joe Mixon or Rashad White. Okay, so we're still 7 picks away.
Yeah, we still got a little bit. Just a reminder to the viewers: hit the like button on this video. Spread and I'm going to be doing some showdown videos very soon here. I'm going to get one out early next week to be determined if Spread's going to jump up on that one with me. But I'll be putting out a show on Monday for the Thursday night football game, the first game of the season. And then showdown content is really where we were crushing it last year. A lot of good calls on there. I'm going to put out a little video recapping some of the big calls we made. But yeah, Showdown is by far my best game, and I'm looking forward to getting that content out on top of this best ball content. But Showdown and playoff best ball are my favorite DFS games for sure. Spread, what are you looking forward to with these Showdown contests?
Yeah, I mean, Showdown is fun because I'm already handicapping the game from a betting perspective, and that just lets me know where I want to go, right?
Yeah.
If I have it as a blowout, we can grab some receivers from the team that I think is going to be, down by 14. If we can grab the running back from the team that I expect to blow out, and obviously we don't always get the calls right, but in such a condensed format, you just have to find the one sleeper. You got to find, because you want to get the studs in there. So you got to find your guy that's going to outperform in the low ranges, and then just hopefully get your game script right. So it's a little easier than doing the full Sunday slate. So we're one pick away.
I got my eyes
Kelsey's
on.
gone.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I kind of got my eye on Zay Flowers here because I haven't done a lot of Lamar stacks, and we're getting him at a well.
There he goes. Okay.
I'm not doing that. Do you like quarterback here, or do you like to go in a direction like a Terry McLaurin and maybe get Jaden Daniels later? What are you thinking here, Spread?
I think those are all good options here. I really like everyone on the board except for Hurts. I would grab a Mahomes, a Lamar Jackson, a McBride. Okay.
Yeah.
So now you want to go through, let's star up some of those receivers that we're going to need.
Yeah.
I think I saw Rashee Rice already went off the board, right?
Rashee Rice, I believe, is off the board. I'm going to get Worthy.
Announced today that they're not going to even consider suspension until his trial's done, and his trial's not going to be done for a while.
Yeah, so you got nothing to worry about with Rice.
So I think the next guy we would target is Worthy because Hollywood has been dropping because of that injury. However, that hasn't been scaring me off. I think we can get a great value there with some Hollywood.
For Hollywood, yeah, I think so.
He's dropping into the 80s almost because he's going to miss the first couple weeks.
Did someone draft Worthy already?
Yeah, hit the board real quick. Let's see.
Damn, yeah, someone got Worthy already. So that kind of kills that freaking plan.
Wow, so we're pretty much going to have a naked Mahomes then because I don't want to reach here.
Yeah. No. We can go like Pickens. I'm not a huge Pickens fan this year. I like McLaurin better because I think if we get Jaden Daniels later on, at least we have McLaurin to stack him with.
Okay, I like McLaurin or Kincaid here.
Okay, let's go with McLaurin because I only have 2 receivers right now.
Okay, I just don't like getting locked down on tight end. I want one of the top 8.
Gotcha. Okay, so next round we'll take a look at see where we're
now
at.
I think we'll be targeting Kittle or Ingram.
Because who's your cutoff typically for where
Ingram,
you like?
Although if it falls to Ferguson, I'm okay with that. But if I miss out on all those, I really feel like I'm in trouble. I don't think this is going to be like last year. I don't think there's a Laporta, like a late round tight end that's going to come in. I mean, last year we had 2 of them with Laporta and McBride.
Right.
I'm not expecting that this year at all.
I think I don't mind Musgrave, but like there's just too much target competition.
Yeah, there's way too much target competition.
For a tight end, it's
you compare him to a guy like Mark Andrews or Dalton Kincaid, that's going to be the number 2 option in the offense.
Right. So yeah, I'm with you, Spread. I think this next pick is a tight end.
Yeah, unless we get some ridiculous ADP value dropping.
Right.
Keenan Allen has been dropping as he looked a little bit overweight and slow during the preseason. Are you scared off by what you've seen from Keenan Allen so far? I had a lot of them, and I'll tell you what, I do overreact to preseason, which is why I like to do a lot of my drafting in June and July because I know that about myself, and I stopped. I haven't been taking him.
I've had a tough time drafting him this entire offseason. It just feels gross to do. I know he had a huge season last year, but we're talking a lot more target competition. Keenan Allen, he gets hurt a lot. Odunze seems like an exciting young player on top of it. And, if we're drafting for the end of the season, I could just see Odunze, lighting it up at the end of the season versus Keenan Allen. But what are your thoughts on it? Are you you were saying you're shying away from Keenan Allen right now, where you drafted him more heavily earlier in the season?
I had a ton of them in June and July. My idea was that he's going to be an elite route runner. He's always open, and it should be a great target for Caleb to rely on, especially with the big body where he can avoid potential interceptions. However, if he's going to be slow, and then you got Odunze next to him,
right?
I hate to say it, but I mean, Harbaugh might know what he's doing there, moving on from him, right? And even if it's the old Bill Walsh, like a year early, maybe he's thinking, I only got a year left, probably not competing for a Super Bowl this year, right? I mean, the first thing the Chargers need is a playoff win.
Right.
I mean, they can't even get that done. So if he just gets one playoff win, they're already back on the right track.
Right.
And maybe he's just thinking long-term, and he's seen stuff that we can't see because say what you want about him. He's always been an elite talent evaluator and good at seeing these things. So I kind of went away from him. And that's one of the fun things. I already have enough. So let's just say we're wrong and he ends up being excellent. I already have enough of him.
Right.
So, but
I think
we see
too,
in this draft, he continues to drop. We're on pick 64 and he's still on the board.
Like with Los Angeles, with the Chargers, what I like about Harbaugh just coming in and cutting bait on Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. It's like Chargers fans probably had to go into every year like going, okay, are they going to stay healthy this year? Like just having to worry about these guys every year, and then all of a sudden they don't have to worry about them anymore because they got rid of both of them. But yeah, I mean that's Harbaugh definitely cleaned house there. Why expect these guys to suddenly work? Like why not just get rid of them and start from scratch? And so Keenan Allen had a really good season last year. Most of that was attributed to injuries of the other wide receivers. But Keenan Allen hasn't been the most healthy guy throughout his career either. So we got Kittle here. Spread.
Kittle, and let's hope that Hollywood drops down to us.
All right, let's grab him. I'll put Hollywood in the queue.
Yeah.
I'm doing it on my phone, by the way. It doesn't look like it automatically syncs up.
Oh, okay.
So let me just put them in here too. Okay, so Hollywood Brown is the target. Jackson Smith and Jigba I like if he doesn't fall to me, and Ladd McConkey. What are your thoughts there, Spread? Or what are your thoughts on Keon Coleman in that mix too?
The way I'd rank these guys is probably McConkey, JSN, Watson, then Coleman.
Gotcha.
I think that target share is going to be really high. And say what you want about McConkey, he runs his routes properly.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like something that Herbert would latch onto right off the bat, especially with the loss of Coleman. Yeah. Watson, I absolutely love in this format only. It would suck to have him in your managed league to try and figure out which weeks to start.
Right.
But I think he's going to have 4 or 5 weeks where he's in the winning lineups on DFS. And Keon Coleman. All right, cool. We got Hollywood. We don't need to think there.
Yep.
Now we have at least a little bit of correlation. We have quarterback and tight end taken care of. I love this position that we're in now, Simon. Now we can just have some fun. Obviously, running back is our most pressing priority, but we also know that running back is the easiest to address in the later rounds by committee. We can just draft a bunch of the backups and just see who gets in there. We have Bijan as our anchor. So we're really available to grab whoever we want. Going back to the Christian Watson idea, I think he's going to be really tough to see which weeks he's going to be, but I think there's going to be 4 or 5 weeks where he's a top guy.
Yeah, I think so. And I think he'll definitely pay off his ADP because you got to figure, yeah, I mean, if he has 4 or 5 spike weeks, he's going in like the 7th round. Like that's what you're hoping for with the 7th round.
And if he spikes in the playoffs, you're set. I mean, he could be this year's Amari Cooper. I know I keep going back to that, but how many teams Amari Cooper knocked me off of because I didn't have a lot of Amari Cooper last year.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was never really that good on the road. And I don't know that Deshaun Watson thing is just a mess.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like you've known me, I've been high on him like this off season, but as things are coming out, more things are coming out on his shoulder. That's scaring me away like a little bit. It could end up being, like completely overblown, but like his shoulder hasn't been right since he got back in. And, just the general rust on top of that, it's just not looking good for Watson these days.
Yeah, I don't think his mentality is the same. I think he lost his confidence.
Yeah.
I mean, he went from being like a superhero to a pariah.
Right. And that's something that you and I talked about early on is like when the crowd is completely turned on you. They're not cheering on you anymore. Like, how's that going to affect?
And even his normal life. Like
Right.
when he went out to eat in Houston before all this came out, he was bum rushed. Everything was for free.
Right.
Pictures with kids.
Mhm.
Now it's whispers.
Right.
You know, now and for someone who's been adored since he's 12 years old. I mean, the guy was a high level prospect.
Right.
I mean, we've known about him since middle school, so he's probably been getting, you know, just the treatment of royalty for his whole life.
Right.
You know, I'm sure he didn't attend too many classes in high school.
Right. Yeah.
No.
It's probably what got him in trouble, honestly. Like,
just thinking you can do no wrong.
Yeah,
probably had a lot of other
untouchable mentality, you know?
Yeah. So
let's see. All right. So,
well, see, and this is where I'd love the zero RB.
Yeah.
I mean, I say we just fill in the second running back spot.
Okay.
And so talk to me about, we got 6 guys on the board who are all in strong consideration. I have my opinions here, but who do you like the most out of who we're seeing?
You know, I like Stevenson and I like Zamir White. Those are my top 2 there. Not a big fan of Jalen Warren. I know he's gotten a lot of hype, but I like Najee better, just with the capital that he has in him and you know, Pittsburgh's commitment to him. DeAndre Swift, I'm not a huge fan of. Raheem Mostert, obviously, you know, like he's blew away expectations last year, but he's, again, with these old running backs, I just don't like drafting them. I like so Stevenson and Zamir would be my options here. Spread. Which one do you lean?
I like Zamir a little more than Stevenson. My favorite on the board right now, though, is Raheem. Probably, yeah. I also like Chase Brown too, but let's go with Zamir.
Cool. I like Chase Brown too. Would you go Brown over White?
No.
Okay. All right. So Zamir White.
I mean, maybe I would, but I don't know.
Well, we got like the coach is hard nosed in Vegas. You know, you probably want to run the ball a lot.
Yeah, because the pass blocking sucks, and that's why, like, when our quarterbacks look so bad during the preseason, it's like, well, they're having a quarterback competition. They're having these guys drop back a ton. They're not going to play like that during the regular season.
Right.
Okay, well, we're up against soon. Let's figure out what we're going to do next. We could grab a third running back because there are players that we still like there. I like Dubes a lot as well. Or we could look into getting a second quarterback. The world is our oyster here. We're not locked into a certain position.
Right. I'm not going to rush into a quarterback since my one guy, Jaden Daniels, is now off the board. Okay. So I think we can wait. Who do we have for receivers? We can wait on Stafford later on if we want. If I grab Stafford, I'm going to probably want to make it a 3 quarterback build, just to give myself that insurance later on. But yeah, I mean, running backs, it's just screaming for us to take a running back here.
I would go
Brown.
Chase Brown here right
now.
Yeah,
Chase Brown. That's an easy one.
What QBs are still on the board? Can you click the QB tab real quick?
Yeah. Let me do it over here. I'm doing it on my phone spread while you're saying all this stuff. All right. Dak Prescott, Caleb Williams, Brock Purdy. Purdy would be, you know, maybe the lean there since we have Kittle, if he's still around. But what are your thoughts? And we could grab.
I think our target should be Purdy, and then if we don't get him, we get Stafford.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Where is Stafford on here? He's below Cousins now.
Well, this is my rankings, but yeah, in ADP he's below Cousins in ADP as well. He's down to 147.
Well, you know what? Actually, that makes sense with how bad that offensive line looks.
Yeah, so I think we can hold off on running back for a little while, unless we get to the. And this is where you got to let the draft kind of dictate the way the flow of your drafting, basically, because if we're seeing a ton of green on that board when it comes my next turn, like, then I'm not going to shy away from grabbing my 4th running back at that point, you know, like, because it's just like the draft is just
the opportunity cost of wide receiver is not that high. Like the guys we want are gone. You want to click to the whole thing and let's see who's fallen in this draft.
Let's see. Click through this right here.
Yeah, now we see you. So the top players on the board, Dak, surprised to see him fall. Whoever has CD will probably grab him. Purdy's probably got a 50% chance to get back to us.
If I had a Jag, then I'd be all about, like Trevor Lawrence as my QB2, but I just don't like drafting him unless I already have a Jaguar on my
you can try
team.
and backstack him with Gabe Davis.
Yeah. Prescott, we could backstack
with Cooks.
Stack him with Cooks, yeah.
Or who's the one that's got Flournoy? If you really want a crazy backstack there, you grab Prescott and Flournoy.
Yeah, I think Prescott's getting to be too good of a value to pass up.
Yeah, I would think so too.
Yeah. So if he falls to us, I mean, it's kind of an easy pick there, even though we don't have any Cowboys already. This is where you got to get creative, like Spread was talking through with getting these stacks. If we put Prescott in, then let's put Cooks in there too. Well, there goes Dak, so we don't have to worry about it. Yeah. So Purdy looks like he's going to fall to us. We might as well draft him, right, Spread, since we got Kittle already.
Yeah, I'd like Purdy.
Yeah, because I think other options we don't really have anything. Well, we got Blake Corum, but we were just talking about how we already have 3 running backs. I mean, Corum, if we draft Corum, that would give us another Ram to go with Cup, and we could take Stafford. Yeah. You want to do that?
I think Purdy's so much better than Stafford this year, though.
Okay.
I would take Purdy.
All right. Grab Purdy.
All right, let's take Purdy, and I'll be right back.
All right. So we just grab Purdy, go over the entire team right now. Up in 5 picks, we got Mahomes and Purdy as our quarterbacks, Bijan, Zamir White, and Chase Brown. We're solid with our quarterbacks, solid with our running backs. We got to keep in mind that we got 2 Week 12 buys there. Cooper Kupp, Devontae Adams, Terry McLaurin, Hollywood Brown. A little bit light with our wide receivers, but this is just how the draft has been falling. And we got Kittle as our tight end. So solid team all around, just a little bit light on receivers. So I'm going to be leaning towards the receiver right here. My favorite guy on the board coming up is Jalen Polk right now. But let's take a look at some of these other guys. We got Jacoby Myers. We already got Devontae Adams. I don't want to do a Vegas stack there because we don't know with certainty who's going to be the starter throughout the season. You're really taking a risk if you draft Minshew, expecting him to be a starter the entire season. So I might lean Gabe Davis on this pick. Let's go with Davis.
I like Polk too.
Oh no, Polk. Yeah, I'm sorry. Polk was the guy I wanted. Yeah. All right, so we got Polk. So we got this basically the starter for New England. Spread wide receiver 1, you think?
Yes. But he might be like the 28 wide receiver run. You're right. I mean,
yeah.
That's so crazy what they're doing out there. Drake May looks so good. How is he not? Just weird what they're doing out there.
I'm gonna put Gus Edwards in the queue.
I don't think he gets to us.
What do you think? What do you think of Shoup? Like, are you? We know that he's obviously going to be.
He's in the position that I talked about earlier. We are so solid at running back. We're able to take the swing.
Yeah.
If we had gone a different route,
would you rather take a swing on Chubb coming back from an injury, or take a swing on Trey Benson, envisioning Connor would be out at some point this season?
Terrible.
Benson looked terrible.
I thought in preseason.
Gotcha. Okay. I didn't really pay attention to him.
From what I read, I didn't watch it.
Okay. Okay. So we got Chubb is, I think Spread and I are both willing to take the risk there.
I like Chandler a lot. I mean, when's the last time Aaron Jones played 16 games?
We do have Gabe Davis, though. So
yeah,
might be worth taking him since we're a little light on wide receivers. Would you take Davis in this situation? Someone just took him, so that puts Chubb back on. Is Chubb your preferred running back here, spread?
Or Chandler?
Chubb or Chandler?
When was the last time Aaron Jones stayed healthy?
True. Yeah.
So we should get 3 to 4 weeks. And I know people are down on Minnesota, but I think that they're overreacting.
I think they're overreacting too.
Yeah. So they have a good coach there. Justin Jefferson's going to take plenty of work. They're not going to be able to stack the box. So as our number 4, right? I mean, Ty Chandler's got a great opportunity to spike into our lineup 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, I think so.
And potentially those playoffs weeks too, if Jones doesn't held up. I mean, it wouldn't be crazy if Jones is not able to make it through the whole season at his age. I mean, what'd you talk about? The running back age being 27?
Yeah.
He's 28 or 29, right?
Which one? Jones?
Yeah.
I think he's probably 28.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like Aaron Jones too, like just because I think he's going to have like those huge weeks.
Yeah.
But I definitely like Ty Chandler a lot.
Looks like we don't have to really worry about that decision. Chandler just got taken, and Chubb was off the board already too. So it's our turn. I think here I'm leaning towards Michael Wilson or Darnell Mooney. We saw Michael Wilson was getting some. We could do Chuba Hubbard. But I think wide receiver is where I'd rather lean. Do you want to go with Michael Wilson or do you like Darnell Mooney?
I like Mooney.
All right, let's grab him.
And you want to know why I like Mooney?
Why's that?
Here's where I get really tricky. Now, you have to remember, I've been doing a lot of DraftKings, right? So it's not as viable on Underdog.
Right.
I love a Mooney Penix backstack. And the other one that I do on DraftKings a lot is a Josh Downs, Joe Flacco backstack. Right. And I'm just targeting. I know Kirk Cousins isn't technically injury prone, but he's 36 years old coming off an Achilles. I mean, it's not the craziest idea that he Meg and I argue about this a lot, but I say, just because Brady was able to do it, and in basketball, like just because LeBron's able to do it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of these players that are done. Like, for example, Derek Carr.
Right.
Big favorite of mine as a Raiders fan. Mm-hmm. I just think he's done. I think his body's taken too much physical, pounding over his career. He's been hit too many times. His shoulders have been beat up too many times. He's rehabbed from too many injuries, and he's not the player that he was 5 years ago. So just because some of these guys, like Brady and even Rodgers to a certain extent were able to do it until a later age.
Going to go Musgrave or Down? You said you like Downs? Like Downs. You like Downs there? All right, let's go with him.
Downs, I'm playing off it. So now we have a great opportunity if you want to do that little backup trick. And my thing there is we talk about being unique, right? And we talk about one of the pitfalls of drafting Rashee Rice right now in the 4th round is you're going to be competing against lineups like mine where I got him in the 8th round in June, right? You grab those Flacco or the Penix at the end, you're not going to have a lot of people with similar builds, right? And you could be sitting in the playoffs with one of the few people that has that quarterback. So now we have the option for both, and we don't necessarily have to do it. But by the time we get to round 18, right, there's not a lot of players we like. I'd like to take a swing on a uniqueness with a guy that could potentially, because I think that both Flacco or Penix can have huge weeks if they were able to get in the lineup.
Yeah.
Since we have Bijan, I would lean towards Penix on this one.
Let me throw this out there because Drake May has gone undrafted throughout most of this offseason. Yeah.
See, I'm so used to DraftKings. He never makes it on DK.
But I have we already drafted what's his face? Jalen Polk. And we got Demario Douglas on the board still. Mm-hmm. If Douglas falls to me, like I think that would be Patriots double stack there would be unique. We know they're facing the Chargers. I didn't draft any Chargers earlier, and they're facing them in week 17, I believe. Mm-hmm. But we could do something like draft Demario Douglas, so we'd have the Patriots stacked there, and then draft Kamani later on.
Yeah, because we do need running back. Yeah, I'm not against that at all.
All right, let's do that. And I'll
The
put
other option would be, you know what I think might be
April.
better though? What about that Hunter Henry pick if he's still on the board?
Ooh, yeah, Hunter Henry too.
Let's do
We
Hunter
do need
Henry
a
over Pop Douglas if we have the
okay.
option,
Yeah,
because we
let's do
only
that.
have one tight end so far.
Yep.
And the thing about Kittle is he has some bad weeks.
Yeah, he does.
So he has the weeks where where he wins you the week, and then he has weeks where he's completely, absent. You know who I like in this range out of all these tight ends too is Noah Fant.
Fant. I haven't been drafting a lot of Fant, but I do like that they have a new offensive coordinator and coach there, which I think could finally.
I mean, when you look at the measurables, he's fantastic.
Yeah. All right. So it looks like Hunter Henry. Somebody took Hunter Henry, so that killed our idea there. But Demario Douglas is still on the board. We could go Douglas and then Fant spread if we want to put Fant in the Q2.
I think that. So I don't. Have you been seeing? I've seen Douglas drop a lot.
Let's see. What's the news on him?
Nothing. I just think that people are down on that offense because they've looked terrible.
Yeah, I think Patriots, like you've liked Drake May, right? Spread. You've liked him.
I just don't know when he's going to get in there.
Right. I think he's the. I thought he was announced as a starter already.
Is he? I'm gonna look. I don't think he was. I thought for sure they're going to start with Brissett.
Yeah, I think I saw it the other day, but like if you want to double check for me. Somebody just took Douglas anyways. So let's go with Fant here.
No, it's going to be Brissett.
Is it Brissett?
Yeah.
All right. So that screws that plan up. All right. So I just drafted Fant there. So Fant and Kittle are tight ends. It's pretty solid. I think I'd be looking at a running back for this next pick here.
Yeah.
Khalil Herbert is a good option. Kamani Vidal, I think you like Vidal too there.
I like Brandon Allen out of anyone on the board right now.
Oh, Brandon Allen? Okay. I don't have a lot of him, so I don't mind putting him in the queue.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I know it's going to be an opportunity, and if Brees stays healthy, but if Brees were to get hurt, you got a top 5 guy there. That's your next guy.
I already have 2 week 12 buys, so I got to go a different direction there. What do you think of Tyrone Tracy versus Kamani?
Vidal. I like Vidal way better.
Okay. Let me just grab him. So we got we got 2 week 12s, a week 10, and a week 5 buy for our running back. So I feel a little bit better there. And Vidal, if we get lucky there and he ends up as the starter, knowing that they have a super shaky backfield, but a coach who likes to run, then we will be set up pretty good, as will everybody who's been drafting Vidal throughout this entire offseason. Basically, he's been going in that same spot around the 180 ADP. So he really, the uncertainty there is around that player has been keeping his ADP super low. Where normally I would have expected him to be closer to the 12th or 13th round by this point.
Yeah.
So, all right. So it's coming back on us in 13 picks. Let's take a look at the team so far spread and see which direction that we want to go. So we got Mahomes and Purdy. We got Bijan, Zamir White, Chase Brown, and Vidal there. Cooper, Devontae, Terry McLaurin, Hollywood Brown, Jalen Polk, Darnell Mooney, and Josh Downs. Go ahead.
I like this team. We did a good job.
Yeah. What's the so you're thinking Penix like in 18th round?
Penix or Flacco, yeah.
Yeah, let's do
that. I like Penix better for this build.
Yeah. What team's Flacco on this year?
Indianapolis.
Indy, okay.
And Richardson is super injury prone. That's why I've been taking a lot of Flacco.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Richardson, we talked about it a lot, like how we haven't seen him play more than like one consecutive game.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just like.
Someone just took Nick's. That's pretty
And
interesting.
DraftKings, he's going so high right now where you have the extra 2 rounds and almost everyone goes 3 QB.
Gotcha. For the next pick here, Josephus, I don't mind him. Let's look at running backs and see which running backs are available.
You know who's another one that I think we should target?
Who's that?
Juwan Jennings.
Juwan Jennings?
Yeah.
Yeah. Since we
or
got
Jordan Mason if he hasn't got picked yet.
Yeah. Let's
continue on that 49ers thing.
I saw Mason get picked earlier.
Okay.
But let's just double check. Yeah, Jordan Mason got picked pretty early in this one. I'm gonna get Penix in there too.
Yeah, he's definitely last round. He doesn't get picked. On this side, he rarely gets picked.
Okay, so we got round 16 coming up, so that gives us 3 picks left. So
I said we go Jennings, running back, Penix.
Jennings, running back, Penix. Okay.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I don't know. Unless there's terrible running backs, I actually kind of like some of these receivers on the board.
I don't mind Burton or Josephus to take a chance on that wide receiver 3 in that offense.
Mm-hmm.
If we wanted to go back to that New England plan, Javon Baker's still on the board.
Yeah, I don't mind him either.
Yeah.
I said we stick with San Francisco, though. Let's go with one of the top offenses in the league instead of one of the bottom offenses.
Shit. Did Jennings?
Yeah,
let me draft Jennings real quick. It doesn't sync up when I put my my guys in my queue on the computer versus
how many running backs do we have right now?
We got 4. So we're going to need a running back.
Yeah, I said we have to go running back here. Who's on the board?
I'm going to get Josephus out of there. Let's go with we could go with Estime based on what we talked about earlier. Roshan Johnson is another option. P. Ryan is there. Deontay Foreman. I've been drafting a lot of Deontay Foreman with that shaky situation in Cleveland.
I think he's going to get the goal line work.
Yeah. Yep. What do you think there? Any leans? Estime? Go with the unknown rookie? Or actually, Roshan Johnson, I kind of like him versus Estime. What do you think?
I like Estime a little more, but I have a ton of him, and I have barely any Roshan. So if you want to go there, I'm fine with that.
All right, let's do Roshan then.
I have a lot.
You have a lot of him. Let me go with Estime then.
No, I have a lot of Estime.
Oh, okay. Shit. All right. Make sure I'm drafting the right guy here. Roshan. Right, there we go.
We're pretty much done because I don't think Penix is going to get sniped from us.
Yeah, no, I don't think anyone's going to go with Penix there. And I like that strategy that's Brett brought up with these quarterbacks targeting backups that have some upside behind these old, injury riddled or older quarterbacks. So,
because we always talk about getting unique, right? Especially on our showdowns.
Yeah.
So it's the same idea. If we're looking towards week 15, week 16, week 17, getting out of these pods,
right? Penix does have upside. I know
I think his upside's way higher than Flacco. Let's just say like they both get hurt and they're both in there. I think I'd rather have Penix. However, I think that Richardson is more likely to get hurt because it's just off the style of play.
Yep. Yeah, I would be surprised to see Richardson make it through an entire season. I haven't drafted much of him. I have like maybe 2 shares of Richardson in all the drafting I've done.
You know where I've been taking him, Simon? I did 47 weekly winners, and that's where I put all my Richardson shares. And, we talked earlier about Christian Watson. I thought he was another weekly winners guy.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, too.
I love Kittle and weekly winners, too.
So let's review the team here while we're waiting for our next pick spread. Reminder to the viewers, use the promo code SEEK when you sign up for an Underdog account. On your first deposit, they're going to match you up to 50%. Or they're going to match you 50% up to $1,000 in a deposit bonus. So if you put in $2,000, they're going to give you $1,000 in free money. And the team we're looking at now for quarterback, we got Patrick Mahomes and Brock Purdy. Running back, we got Bijan, Zamir White, Chase Brown, Kimani Vidal, and Roshan Johnson. So we're really solid at quarterback and running back there. Wide receiver, we got Cooper Kupp, Devontae Adams, Terry McLaurin, Hollywood Brown, Jalen Polk, Darnell Mooney, Josh Downs, and Juwan Jennings. And for our tight ends, we got Fant and we got Kittle. We're on the clock now. We're going to draft Penix. So that's going to give us a nice little Atlanta stack if it works out our way, and gives us a third quarterback in the throwaway spot. So, yeah, I think it's pretty solid team spread. I do think that you can get a much more balanced team when you draft in spots 1 through 4 versus 8 through 12. That's for sure.
Yeah, there's advantages to 8 through 12, but I really like our team. Mark it down that I helped you with this one, because I think this team's going to do really well.
All right, let me get that mark there. Yes, Brett, thanks for jumping on. Again, a reminder to the viewers, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Trying to get up to 600 subscribers in the next couple weeks there, because we got Showdown coming up, and that's where we gained a ton of subscribers with all the calls we were making last year. We've got a good game week 1. Let me double check what it was. 49ers, right, versus Kansas City.
Mm-hmm. No, versus New York Jets.
Oh, versus the Jets?
Yeah.
Let's see.
Kansas City opens the season against the
Baltimore
Ravens.
Right, that's the game I'm thinking of. That's the game that I'm going to do my first.
Okay. I'm sorry. I keep thinking Monday Night Football. I don't know why. Probably because you said Monday, so I'm just assuming.
Yeah, like Monday, I'm going to be putting out the first show for sure. So that's going to be Ravens Chiefs, and then we got a game on Friday too. We got Packers Eagles. That's in Brazil. There's wildfires going on in Brazil right now. Spread.
I mean, we better enjoy this planet while it lasts. I mean, it just keeps getting worse and worse.
Yeah, and so we got. Wonder. I'm not sure how that's going to affect the game with, the quality of air conditions and everything like that. That'll be interesting to see how that shakes out too.
Yeah, I remember when we had it in Northern California, they made them play through it.
Did they?
Yeah.
Gotcha. So, yeah. So, I mean, Ravens Chiefs, though, that's going to be a good game. I mean, in the past, I've always hated to do the Chiefs in these showdowns because it was so, so unpredictable which players they were going to go to, because they didn't have any good players to go to, apart from Kelsey, and figuring out the rest of the team was a crapshoot. But now, I mean, I think Captain Worthy is looking pretty good for week 1. Like, when there's not a lot of, not as many people are going to be on him as they will like after the first few weeks when they start to see, some of his upside spread.
Do you think Kelsey's going to be high owned because he had a quiet regular season last year? I wouldn't be surprised to see him bounce back. I know that people are kind of writing him off, but
he blew up in the playoffs though, so I could see.
And I'm wondering if they treat this like a playoff game, just because it is against this big rival,
right? So yeah, it'll be. I mean, he'll be a guy that they go to in this for sure. Like secondary of Baltimore is pretty good. So maybe Worthy doesn't have his breakout game in this one, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Worthy come out of the gates hot spread. Honestly,
I wasn't surprised to see Pacheco be a good captain play as well.
Yep. So a lot of options there. But make sure to subscribe to the account so you don't miss any of that showdown content, and we'll have updates on when that show's coming out on Monday. So thanks for joining us, and see you guys next time. Oh, Spread, where can they find your content?
Find me at Spread Astaire on Twitter/X.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.